Algorators, good afternoon. Happy Tuesday. We had to wait for our fiery civil attorney, Shatan Turner, to get into her house that she broke into, her vacation house. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, that's you, Algorators. So that is JP Mills. Welcome back. Protecting My Peace 44. Welcome back to Celebrity Court. Delira Washington. Welcome back to Celebrity Court. Lathea Robin Smith, welcome back. Jessica Brooks, welcome back to Celebrity Court. SL, welcome back to Celebrity Court. Who else? Johnny Solo, welcome back to Celebrity Court. Alfred Sings, welcome back. And Essie Stone, welcome back. You're going to be my jury tonight. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, and by that I mean you, my fiercely opinionated viewers who we love jumping down in the chat, tuning in from wherever you are, your living rooms, your kitchens, your bedrooms. Welcome to another unflinching session of Celebrity Court of Public Opinion. Tonight, guess what? We're not just gossiping. We're putting the biggest celebrity legal battles under a microscope. We're going to cut through their spin. We're going to cut through their PR statements as well as the media headlines to ask the questions that mainstream won't. Tonight, we're tackling 5 cases that hit every nerve: power, money, sex, exploitation, and that sticky gray area between allegations and accountability. We'll ask, what is the price of fame for those who serve it? Who really pays when the light goes out and the hush money stops flowing? And why do some cases move forward when others, just as scandalous, seem to disappear into the night? To my brilliant panel of legal beagles, you're going to be our real stars tonight, so let's get into their introduction. First up, we have lawyer extraordinaire, civil attorney, lawyer, and author of Shit They Never Taught You in Law School, Jason Weiss. Welcome back to Celebrity Court.
Thank you, Your Honor. Excited to be here. And with that big intro, it sounds like we're covering a Diddy story again, right?
Almost. It's almost.
Hey, 5 stories. Let's go.
Next up, we have that fiery civil attorney now breaking and entering possibly candidate, Shatan Turner. Welcome back to Celebrity Court.
Hey, Your Honor. It's glad to be back, and I have new skill set now.
You know how to break into a vacation home. I'm very proud of you. You're a little gangster. Who knew? Who knew? And last but not least, humorist at law, Sean Carter. Welcome back to Celebrity Court.
Hey, everybody.
All right, to everybody watching, don't just sit there. Hit that like button for me. Also, don't forget to comment, subscribe, and share because you are the jury here. Let's put these scandals on trial. Court is now in session. Let's get into it. First up, Megan Thee Stallion. Yep, Megan Thee Stallion. Welcome back to Celebrity Court. The Grammy-winning rapper known for Hot Girl Summer now finds herself battling allegations that could make any boss sweat. Her former cameraman, Emilio Garcia, says he was trapped in a car, forced to watch a sexual encounter, fat-shamed in public, unpaid, and blackballed when he spoke up. Despite Megan's camp calling it outlandish, a federal judge says the claims are plausible enough to move forward. But the question here is, what is at stake? Celebrity workplace culture, number one, LGBTQ plus harassment, and what it really means to blow the whistle on a famous boss. All right, let's start with you, Miss Shatan Turner. What makes a workplace harassment claim stick when the employer is a celebrity and the workplace is essentially their tour when they're on tour?
I'll answer your question, but I almost am too distracted because Blow the Whistle is one of my favorite songs. Like anybody who knows me knows that Too Short song is my jam. So when you said about Blow the Whistle, I immediately went to do. Okay. Anyway, so here's the thing with employment harassment cases, and this is important for algoriters to know because even though they're not working for celebrities or might not be in that industry, they might be treated badly at work, right? And so here's what you need. You need to have the conduct to be severe and pervasive enough to alter the work environment. And so most of the time you need to have a pattern. However, there are certain instances that are egregious enough that it only has to occur one time. And so things like grape, right? Things like assault, things like being required to watch pornography while at work, right? All of the potentially rise to the level where it only has to happen once, and that could be deemed to be severe and pervasive. And the
Okay.
reason for federal court is because these actions arise under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, and those are federal actions. And so, Megan, while I'm all about having a hot girl summer, like this is my time, and I love her other music, she's got a little bit of a problem on her hands.
Okay. Let's go to you, Attorney Weiss, also a civil attorney. How does the law treat allegations of a hostile work environment based on his sexual orientation in this context?
The court could care less, right? There can be heterosexual inappropriate behavior, there could be homosexual, there could be any. It doesn't matter. A hostile work environment that brings sex into play is a hostile work environment, and it doesn't matter. It's something that makes you feel uncomfortable. Advances again, like the old school when you go into the garage and there was the pinup of the girl in the bikini and all of that. That's considered a hostile and sexual situation that is not allowed. So it doesn't matter if it's if it's a man and a woman talking. It doesn't matter. It makes absolutely zero. You can't make the other person feel uncomfortable, make sexual advances, and do things. Look, in this instance, it wasn't. Pardon my pun, but it wasn't a tit for tat. This was just, you made me feel uncomfortable. You wouldn't allow me to leave, and I'm coming after you for it. Doesn't matter.
Okay. Attorney Carter, could the alleged forced witness, right? So he's alleging he was forced to stay and witness it. Could the alleged forced witness of a sexual act constitute a form of sexual harassment or battery?
Yeah, and for the reasons that the attorneys have said, well, right, just that But here's the thing that's kind of interesting about this case, though, is that we also have to take into context what your job is. So, for instance, if you're on a porn set, right, you can't say, "Oh my God, they made me watch sex," because that's what you do on a porn set, right? He's on a tour with a huge mega celebrity. You're gonna see some sex. All right. Imagine if you were the bus driver for Guns N' Roses, all right, in the 90s, and then you said, "Oh my God, I had to see sex." Yeah, that's why you took the job. All right. That's why you did it for free. All right. Because you wanted to see all the sex. All right. He's arguing, and what he's saying is, and why sexual orientation matters, he's saying, you're right. I wouldn't have a problem with this at all, but I didn't want to see, nobody, how do I say this, lick anybody's Tootsie Roll. All right. And here's the thing about it. He's basically saying, because think about it, if you're a straight guy, you can't make that case. And the straight guy in the world would say, "Hey, I was so offended. I saw Megan and did do."
Right.
I would pay for that. I looked for that for 6 hours this morning trying to
you
find out about the case.
paying for some sexual experience.
All right, exactly. All right. And so the point is, he's got to argue, I'm particularly offended about this because I'm gay and fat. And I'm not sure how that's going to work. All right, because I'm not sure he's.
Did you just say because he's gay and fat, counselor?
That's what he said. But think about it. He's saying the two things. One, this is sexual orientation, right? Because if I was straight, it wouldn't have been a problem. And two, you also fat shamed me because you said I wasn't supposed to eat that. All right. By the way, I looked at him. He's not all that fat. All right. I don't know why. I mean, he's about. I'm about number 3 at McDonald's away from where he is. All right. He's not that fat. He should really not be. Because really, fat shaming is not, by the way, against Title VII. There's nothing in Title VII about fat shaming. But if you have a disability, if you're morbidly obese, if you're not able to move, then we can bring it in there. That's why I say he's not fat enough for fat shaming to work for him.
And what's the number 3 at McDonald's? I haven't been in 10 years.
It must be like
it's the quarter pounder with cheese. Trust me, I know what it is.
Quarter pounder. All right, so let's go back to you. Attorney Turner. What evidence does Garcia need then to win claims of blackballing and wrongful termination? And should Roc Nation and other entities be held vicariously liable for Megan's actions because that's who she signed to?
So let's unpack this. So, in terms of the wrongful termination, he has to be able to tie either his refusal of an act or his complaining about the sexual harassment and that he was retaliated against, and that's how he lost his job. So that's what he's going to have to show. One of the things that's interesting for the alligators is that it's actually infinitely easier to win a retaliation claim than it is to win the actual underlying harassment claim, because there's all these elements to prove whether or not it was harassment or not. And in truth, you just need one pivotal event to show you were retaliated against. And often people don't like folks that complain. And so they do things
Right,
to them to jack up their employment, right? They
right.
fire them, they give them a less desirable assignment, because once you start complaining, especially if everybody's down with watching of the porn and doing all kinds of other stuff, and you're the only one who doesn't want to do it, then you're jacking up the whole atmosphere of the workplace, right? And so they want to marginalize you because they want you to leave, because they want people around who endorse those decisions, right? So that's what they
Um,
have to do for the wrongful termination. The blackballing, he'll also have to show that he was qualified for a job, he applied for the job, and he didn't get it but for Megan and or her handlers or people interfering with him not getting the job. That's actually harder to prove because those jobs are so highly coveted and people will do them for 2 cents. Like there's all of these cases showing that there were these interns in
Mhm.
Hollywood who never got paid because they were just trying to get put down with the contacts because they thought it was going to lead to something. And so his
mhm.
ability to show that he was blackballed, like, unless somebody's mad at Megan now who wasn't mad at her before, no one's going to admit to that. So I think that's fairly unlikely.
All right,
The
Jason,
vic-
let me ask. Oh, sorry.
sorry.
Go ahead.
The vicarious liability claim, that's going to be a function of Megan's relationship with the company, whether or not the entity that signed her is somehow responsible for what she did. And that's going to be a function of how her company is structured. How is it tied? Like, is she an independent contractor of the record company? Or does she have some other type of more formal relationship with them that then makes them responsible? So vicarious liability is a claim that means you're standing like in the shoes of the other person and somehow you're responsible for their actions indirectly, even though you did not directly do the conduct. Like, was that other person your agent, or did they have the ability to make decisions on your behalf? So that's what they're going to have to show
Got
if
it.
they want to
Does it
vicarious liability.
matter? Does it matter that his paycheck comes from Rock Nation?
It does.
It
That's
helps.
that's a piece of evidence.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so that
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 says,
does help.
hey, mm-hmm.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
If
So
you're a fan, you'll say, for all intents and purposes, I thought I worked for Rock Nation. I was just assigned to this Megan the Stallion tour. And while I was there, they allowed her, right, because they didn't give her proper supervision, to do whatever she wanted. And the result of that was me being harassed. And so I just don't want her pockets. I want yours too.
got it. Okay,
So
Jason and Sean, help me with this. If you are in an SUV, obviously he's in the SUV, right?
mhm.
Mhm.
How can he not get out? Was it because they were having a sexual act while the SUV was being driven? That's question number one. Hold on.
Mhm.
Question number two, how was he forced to watch? I mean, doesn't he have eyes? Can he close them? Or does it matter that it was just the fact that the sexual act was in this same vehicle that he was in?
It was in the same vehicle that he was in. He really, look, there could have been child safety locks on it. It could have been that he was in the middle and he couldn't get around them to get out. It could have been that the doors were locked. It could have been
It
that it
could have
was
been in the
moving.
back. It could have been
Um,
sitting in front.
right.
Okay.
So we just don't know that. And yes, I mean, look, the same thing with the pinup of the calendar in the old school garage, right? You could not look at that wall. You could turn your head the other way and look. it's still there. You don't have to go out of your way to avoid it. It just can't be there where it's technically unavoidable, right? You walk in and it's there. You're
I
in the
just
car and it's there.
gotcha. I got you, Sean
To that
Carter. Let
point,
me ask
he's
you
going to
this.
argue one quick thing, but he's going to argue it was a condition of his employment. That's his strongest thing. That if he didn't watch it, then he was going to have repercussions. And so it was a condition of his employment to engage in these things, and that's why he watched it. It's not
Brenda
incumbent
O
upon
said he can still hear and smell it.
Ooh,
Ooh, Brenda
don't
O,
want
He
to.
can smell it. Please don't say he can smell it.
messy. Brenda, you are messy.
But
Sean
look,
Carter.
to Megan, what you need to do next time is hire a payroll company, so Rock Nation is not on the hook. So then you're
That's
working
true.
for the payroll company. There you go. You insulate
Attorney
yourself.
Carter, let me ask you this question real quick. Eh, Why is Megan so involved in legal troubles in the last 24 months? And we're talking more than just Tory Lanez, more than this is cameraman. What's going on with her, and what would your conversation be having if you were general counsel at Rock Nation and having her on your label?
And see, I'm torn between this because you're right, it's a lot. But here's the thing about it is, if this was a man and he was
Mhm.
having sex with somebody, or like I said, on the tour bus,
Mhm.
we would be mad if he wasn't. All right, that's what he's supposed to do. That's why you learn to play the damn. You think it's fun to learn how to play a damn instrument? No, it ain't no damn fun. But you spend all those hours practicing because you know there's gonna be sex on the tour bus. All right, and so I would if I'm her, I'm like, hey, I'm a free independent woman. I'm doing exactly what Mick Jagger got
But they ain't
200
on a bus. They're in a
a year.
car. They're in a car. They're not in a bus.
You
They're in a
think Mick
car.
Jagger was making sure he had privacy for the 7,000 women he slept with?
No, but in this case,
All I'm
they
saying
were in
is
a
this: in this
Volkswagen
car,
Beetle.
right? In
Thank
this
you.
car, they're in a car. I can understand if it's a tour bus. Like you can go to another part of the bus. If you see your boss is getting ready to get down, you just separate yourself.
But
You're in a
you know
car.
that for more male rock stars, it's not always private. It's not always some suite at the Marriott. All right, people have
Mhm.
been doing all kind of stuff backstage, etc. And if I'm her lawyers or PR people, I'm like, hey,
Porta
let
potties.
her live. Let her do what the men have been doing all this time. It's probably not going to work because she's a woman, but I try it.
That seems
well, but
crazy
I
to me.
think that it will work in the court of public opinion, but she's going to have some problems in
Right.
federal court. And so I think there are two things to Attorney Carter's thing. I mean, what's her song? Body yaddy 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 yaddy. Right? She was doing that with somebody in the car,
Right?
and yeah, he had to watch. Right? She's like, hey,
I just
and
can't
so
get
I
over
think
the
that
smell part.
I
yeah, the
still think
smell
that's
part,
smell too.
but that's part of her image. So I do think that there is a female empowerment, I'm owning my sexuality aspect to it that may play to people who consume her music, right? I just think that if this guy had to endure this, that they need to settle this quickly because that
Endure,
And then I also think,
endure, really endure. It was a hardship. It was the worst thing he'd ever seen.
well, I
Really?
think one thing that we can't do, Attorney Carter, is shame him for not wanting to watch. Well,
That's
it's
exactly what I'm shaming him for.
same
Exactly
same
it.
sex.
All right. Shame on
It's
him.
saying he doesn't want to watch women have sex while he's working. I think he has a right
Well,
to
but
have that
life,
right. I think
here's the thing, it's not
he has a right to have that right.
okay.
I did
He has
not
a right to
sign
do
up
that.
to be forced to watch my boss have sex with another woman 2 feet from me. I don't
Well,
think that
maybe,
that's
but think about it.
unrealistic.
If you were on a
And I don't
porn
think just
set,
because Megan is hot that we should be like, oh, okay, that's okay for her to
no,
behave like
if
this.
he was on a porn set, he's a cameraman. He signed up for the job to be with a freaky rock star.
No,
By
but he's
the
not
way,
on a porn
no,
set.
no, no.
That's
But think
not
about
his
it.
job
I
assignment.
know, but he signed up to record 50 hours a week of the woman who's famous for WAP. All right?
Okay,
And
but
now he's like, I had to see WAP. Yeah, he told you about the WAP 50 damn
no,
times.
I can't
Was
sign
that
up.
in
but
the job
Death
description?
God
You
wants
may
that
have
I
job.
seen
can't. I
WAP.
can't
So
sign up. I
Be
can't. I
warned.
can't support that.
if
I
it's
swear.
vacant now, Death God wants that job. In the chat saying, hey, I'll do the time, I'll endure it.
Right.
Yeah, Death God is like, hey, Megan, Collie.
Lucky dude. Right. He's like making comedy. Okay, let's keep it moving. Hush Money at the House of Medea. Tonight's headline case: Prize opened the polished gates of Tyler Perry's studios. Actor Braxton Wells alleges that studio vice president and reputed right hand man to Tyler Perry, Marky Swinton, lured him to Atlanta in January 2022, groomed and graped him, then handed over $500,000 in hush money wrapped in an NDA to keep him silent. Wells now claims Perry himself did what he could to cover it up, while a civil attorney, supposedly on Wells' side, double crossed him, buried the lawsuit, and colluded with the very men he hoped to sue. As of July 8th, 2025, there's no civil complaint, no criminal indictment, and no paper trails in Georgia or California. Only Wells' Instagram confessions and a string of media interviews. Was this a calculated scheme to muzzle a victim, or is it an unsubstantiated bombshell posed to implode a billion-dollar brand? Now, this is my question. We're having a lot of sexual assault cases coming out of Tyler Perry's studio. So my question here goes to you, Attorney Weiss. Georgia voids contracts when it comes to the NDA versus the public policy shield. Georgia voids contracts that conceal felony sexual conduct. If a court finds Swinton's alleged assaults rises to that level, does the entire $500,000 NDA crumble? And could Wells actually sue to recover punitive damages for being forced to sign it?
Okay, so first of all, there's been no criminal or civil complaints filed or lodged. This is all right now on Instagram and TikTok, and I actually think we've got some collateral for that. And then I will come back and I will answer the questions that you just posed having to do with returning the money and the NDA.
Okay, sounds good. Let's go. Bailiff.
All right. I'm not about to hide anything with you guys. I'm not. And I'm not about to sit here and be afraid and be silenced by people knowingly they did me wrong. I'm calling out Tyler Perry Studios. I'm calling out Mark Swinton. I'm calling out Jeannie Harrison. I'm calling out Michael Robbins. I'm calling out Tyler Perry. And I'm calling out Mark Temple. And I'm calling out Chris Giovanni. I want you guys to know what you guys did to me was very unlawful. And me being a retired vet, U.S. Army vet, going through post traumatic stress disorder, going through mood, depressions, everything that I've claimed in my testimony, you all covered it up. You all covered up a felony crime of what Mark Swin has done to me. I've asked for help from the California State Bar to complain to Jeannie Harrison because she didn't tell me my California rights as a U.S. Army veteran and a California LA resident. I'm sitting here looking on the news that this kid named Derek Dixon is getting unlimited jurisdiction quit pro as a LA resident, right? His incident happened in 2020 in Georgia in an employment place. He said he had a sexual harassment, and he was groped by Tyler Perry in Georgia as an employment place. But he's an LA resident. All right, y'all tracking what I'm saying? 2022, my incident. I get sexually assaulted and raped drugged, blacked out. That's a felony crime. And it happened in Georgia as a LA resident. So if you guys don't know the laws in Georgia, this is what they put against me. They said I had a 2 years of a statute of limitation. I got 5 months late. 2 years of statute.
Hmm. This before anybody answer, hold on one second, because I want to make sure that we stay sensitive to the victims. Okay, I just want to make sure that we stay sensitive to the victim as we start to answer these questions, because I actually had the opportunity to read the police report, and what he is alleging, if true, is actually horrific. Like, it's actually horrific. Like, he wakes up the next day in the bed, he takes a shower, realizes that he is, been touched somewhere. There's blood involved. Uh, there's old Astroglide or Vaseline involved. It's really, really an ugly situation. So I just want to make sure that we not take this lightly for what he is accusing or claiming. Okay, so I just want to make sure we stand with that. So my first question, let's go to you. Okay, go back to you with the Jason about the Georgia voids the contracts that conceal felony sexual conduct with
So
the
it's
6,000.
it's not so much that it voids any NDA, and we covered this when we talked about Diddy. Knew how to get that name out here. Any NDA specifically says that if you are ordered by a court, or you are under a subpoena or a summons, or you are brought in, that is the exception to any NDA, and you can go in and you can talk about what that is. And if the state of Georgia decides they want to pursue criminal, then they can ask him about this.
Okay.
He might have a problem if he signed an NDA, if he was paid $500,000, and he is now coming out and putting this in the media, in the internet, everywhere else. He might have a problem. And that's something that the NDA, again, you can't cover up a crime, you can't cover up something. So there's going to be a fine line, and the state attorney and other agencies are going to have to look into this. And I can tell you right now, Tyler Perry's attorneys and Swinton's attorneys and everybody else, they're going to go after him for breaching this NDA. And of course, they're going to say that none of this ever happened. So this is going to be
Now he
a
has
very
proof.
hard fought
Okay, so he has proof
situation.
from text messages. He's put a ton of text messages on the internet, and he claims that he has more. Now, let's just look at this logically, okay? I'm thinking what really got underneath his skin is when he saw what Tyler Perry, that actor who
Yep.
had less done to him,
Yep.
and he wanted what?
260 million.
$260 million. And he's saying to himself, oh, hell no. If I had to go through Vaseline and Astroglide with a hurt you know what, and this boy didn't go through a third of that, is going to get millions, I think he probably now is rethinking his rights. So let me ask.
And there's also a problem here involved where if Tyler Perry and Swinton's legal team was giving him legal advice,
Right.
and he didn't have the opportunity to go seek independent counsel and did not know that they weren't his lawyers. There's
Order
a
in the
lot
court,
of
order in the court, bailiff. You need to take that picture down. That does not look good. Order.
I was like, what did I do? I'm being
Order.
sensitive. I'm being
Let me see
sensitive.
that picture. Let me see that picture one more time. Oh. But I'm not one to say anything. All right, let's go to you, attorney.
I think, Your Honor, you cracked the case. This is really all there is to it. He said, "Oh, $500,000 will work," and then he found out someone else was getting more. That's not how this works. All right, I make agreements all the time to speak for people, and they pay me X dollars, and then I find out
Right.
later they
But then
paid
you find
so
out
and so Y dollars.
somebody whose skin don't look like yours is
Right,
making millions. I think that
exactly. I can't go
causes
back and be like,
concern.
"Hey, you got to give me more money now."
So
Or
let me
they go to you and they
hold your thought 1 second. Okay, so because I want to get to this, because one of the things that he can legally explore, and I need somebody to explain it to me, either of you and all of you, but I want to know you can start, Attorney Carter. It's called aided in agency liability for Tyler Perry himself. So let me
Right.
repeat it. It's called aided in agency liability for Tyler Perry. Now, Georgia recognizes the aided in agency doctrine when an executive misuses the power the employer gives him. The company, and in rare cases its owner, can be on the hook. Tell me, what specific evidence, though, would Wells need to show that Tyler Perry's personal authority helped Swinton commit or cover up the assault?
I mean, he would have to know one, they have to prove emails or whatever, phone calls that Tyler knew about this, that Tyler then had either approved or directed people to pay the money. And by the way, let's be clear about the NDA. All right, an NDA is one thing, but if he had a settlement agreement that said, "I won't talk about this, and in exchange for my claims, I also won't bring a lawsuit about this," right? It's settlement out of court. You can't go back and redo it. Now, it doesn't mean he can't go to the police and say, "Hey, I mean, you should arrest him." But the problem is Georgia, actually, he still go to the police in Georgia. I think Georgia has a 15-year statute of limitations.
Right,
So he
right.
could have this guy prosecuted, and he should be prosecuted if this is true. But he cannot, I don't think he can go back and break the civil agreement he's made. He basically, sold out love.
I'd hate to say it, but
But
is
the
he
issue
ass out?
here is that he's all over social media telling the
Is he ass
story.
out?
Twice.
Well, yeah.
Ass
I
out
mean, he's
twice?
all over social media telling this story as opposed to going through the channels that Attorney Carter did. We saw this in the Diddy trial, right? Cassie settled with Diddy. She got $20 million, right? And then she was brought into a criminal suit. Cassie is crying because of the outcome of the Diddy trial and remains a wealthy woman because she still gets to keep her $20 million because she didn't start going all over
You
social
made 30
media
million and then she
violating
got
her
20
NDA.
million.
Well, she asked for 30, she got 20. Um,
yeah, I thought it was 20.
yeah, she
Okay.
demanded 30, he refused it, and she got 20. But anyway, she gets to keep her money because she only told her story in court and to government officials. And you can't have an agreement that says, I agree to violate the law. In this case, he's salty. He's
Um,
whining. He's on social media telling the world, violating the NDA every single time he opens his mouth, right? And if he really wanted appropriate retribution against them, he should have kept it all in the legal channels and gone to the
mm.
police and then told his story in court. So he
So let me
might
ask you
end up
this.
with a
I
hurt
have
pussy and with no money.
Attorney Turner, it offends me that you would say he's all over the internet whining. If this was a woman claiming that a man had done this to them, would you consider her on the internet whining?
I would. I probably wouldn't have had that word choice. You're right to call me on it. I needed to be checked for that. My bad. My point was he shouldn't be talking on the internet at all
About at
because
it all. Okay, so
he's
I
finding
can
his
agree
way.
with that.
Yeah.
I definitely can agree with that. Let's go to you.
And his internet
I want to go back
story.
to you. Hold on, Jason. I want to go back to you. You can bring this up
Okay.
because you brought up a very good point. You talked about legal malpractice fallout because if there was collusion, right, with the lawyers giving him wrong advice. So if Wales' first attorney really worked both sides, like you were starting to share with us, the malpractice damages equals the value of the lost case against Swinton and Tyler Perry Studios, right? So how would you calculate that number, especially when reputational harm and punitive exposure for $1 billion studio is on the table?
So first of all, that if taking the facts as they are presented in his video,
Okay.
then there is a problem, because what happens is you look at what the client thinks. If the client thinks that you are the client's lawyer and you do not straighten them out or tell them otherwise, especially putting it in writing or you put a disclaimer out that, like, we're here on this show, nothing we talk
I
about is
work
legal advice.
for I've worked for Tyler. They have to tell the
Correct. Look, anytime I draft a settlement agreement that the other side does not have a lawyer, I specifically put in there and tell the other side, you should be speaking to an attorney. You have to have somebody check it out. If you don't, that's your decision, but I have it in writing putting it there. So these attorneys needed to say, look, we drafted this and our client is the studio, it's Tyler Perry, it's Swinton. We drafted it. We took into account what you wanted, but you should go get your own lawyer to look at it. And then send a confirming email. Here is the agreement. Go get a lawyer to look at this because I am not your lawyer. Now, if he said, you're my lawyer, I trust you, it's all good, and they didn't stop that, those lawyers have a lot of problems. They have bar problems, they have malpractice problems, and insurance could kick in. Now, most of the time, an attorney's malpractice insurance is anywhere from 300,000 to 2 million. So that's probably what they're looking at. But him taking this to the internet, he may have caused more harm to himself than good.
So let me ask all the attorneys before I get to the Rico question, because this is a good one. Ever since the Diddy situation, everything to me could possibly be Rico. But let me ask you this: what does a 25-year-old actor do when he's being groomed? Right? Um, he's trying to get his acting career off the ground. He gets a job at one of the most successful studios in the country for African American male actors. He's making some money. Not only has he got the job, but he has the head of the studio over who picks the actors and run them is hollering at him pretty much. That's what this is all about. What could he have done different?
Picked a different
25
career.
years old. At 25 years old,
Look,
how do you know what someone is telling you, and you hoping to keep your job? You're very young. You have at least 40 more years in this space to earn a paycheck. What do you do? I'm just asking because I don't ever want to come across holier than thou that at 25 I'm chasing a career. One of the biggest employers of African American actors, well, don't lie, is the biggest employer of African American actors, is giving me work. My show is being renewed, and now the head of the studio is now pursuing me. He's allegedly straight, right? Because he has a girlfriend, but finds himself waking up the next morning in a bed and a shower and has been assaulted.
And that's the thing is, allegedly, you got to make sure. And by the way, everybody at Tyler Perry Studio, if you're listening, Tyler, please hire one man who is legitimately straight. All right. Every man you've had has a kind of a girlfriend. No. I did my research. I did my research on this. All right.
Wait a minute. So are you saying that all the male actors in Tyler Perry's
I'm saying that Tyler and the executive.
Oh, you mean working at Tyler
working there,
Perry.
the executives.
Okay, so
and
all
here's the thing:
employees.
both of them have a cover story of somebody they might have married, kind of have baby with, or whatever. We ain't never seen them with them. We don't know they exist. And here's why you got to get a man who's straight and married and real married. That's why, by the way, I tell people all the time.
And his wife wears a slip,
right? Slip. Exactly. And here's why: because it gives me plausible deniability. It gives me deniability. Let me explain. You can say a lot of things about me. I could do a lot of things, but here's what no one can say to me. No one can say that married man, gave me 6 hours of pleasure last night. Nobody can say that. My wife was
That's not true. Your wife was allowed.
What is he drinking in that cup?
His wife got 6 hours of pleasure. She was allowed to binge watch her own show.
There you go.
With him out on tour working. She got 6 hours of pleasure.
But she ain't got 6 hours in the bedroom in 33 years. I ain't working that hard. Otherwise, I'd have stayed single. All right. And the point is, there's certain things a married man ain't gonna do, and that would be one of them.
Okay, you know what, Sean Carter, whatever you're drinking in that cup, keep drinking it. All right, let's go here. Could Wells, though, because we've learned from the Diddy case, everybody, this whole thing called RICO, right? Could Wells, because he was flown out. What did you call it? What did you say?
Flew out, flew out,
Flown out,
Flown out,
flew out. No, he called it flew out. Flown,
flew
flew,
out,
flew out.
flew out. Yeah.
Simone
Goodwill's,
calls it flew out.
flew out.
Goodwill's filed a federal civil RICO suit arguing that the NDA, the attorney collusion, and alleged pattern of assault, right? Because we see the Derek Dixon case, constitute an enterprise aimed at obstructing justice.
Well, let's clarify one thing because we've referred to this as attorney collusion, and that's not really the allegation. So the allegation that the lawyers is that they failed to
Flew.
indicate, that they were not representing him and they were exclusively representing the enterprise. So that's not collusion, that's misrepresentation, and it
Okay.
is against our ethics. And there is precedent, like years ago when the Sandusky case was getting tried. It's one of the kind of tantamount cases in this area. The president of Penn State was in the grand jury room, and there was an attorney there representing Penn State. And that president ended up going after the lawyer, and after they got into a lot of trouble because they had done a whole lot of wrong by like not reporting things when they were supposed to. And they said, I thought I was protected because there was a lawyer for Penn State there and I'm the president of Penn State. But the lawyers represent the enterprise. If they're corporate, they do not represent the individuals. So whenever a corporate attorney is having a conversation with an individual about anything, including the CEO, right? They need to make clear that they represent the enterprise because the individuals are all dispensable from our perspective. And so in this case, to do all the things Attorney Weiss said, and also not just give lip service to those things that he was indicating, give the person time to have it reviewed, because otherwise they're like, I didn't think I needed a lawyer. You know, Attorney Weiss is a lawyer. And Attorney Weiss presented to me, does anyone still have ethics nowadays? Yes, Brenda, we do. We all have ethics on this show.
I can't.
But I have to say though,
Deliria Carter said, Deliria Washington said, Mr. Carter is too funny. Get someone straight. I am still laughing at that. Okay. And
let me
then
say
she
something
also
serious.
said, Deliria Washington said, you got 30 minutes, not 6 hours. Melina NC said,
30 minutes. Good. Thank you.
Brenda O said, Attorney Carter is too funny. I'm sure she knew that before she married you.
I plead the fifth. Let me say something serious though about what attorneys Turner and Weiss said, because they're absolutely 100% correct. All right.
Okay.
As the company's counsel, you have an obligation to represent the company. But here's the thing is, and I was in-house counsel. My boss was the CEO, sat 2 doors down. Do you think I ever went to him and said, hey, boss, let's just be clear. I don't care if I screw your life up. I represent the company. No, because he signed my check, right? He was the one who determined my quarterly bonus. And so more often we were kind of on the same side. And so it's easy to say, but the thing is, I bet you in the settlement agreement he signed, there's something that says you were given an opportunity to go to counsel, and you didn't do it, and that's your ass.
Yep.
So OG Patrice has a good question. What about if he signed the NDA under distress?
That's what he says.
Right. Under duress. He'd have to prove it. Now, duress wouldn't be, if I didn't sign it, I got fired. No, that's not duress. Sorry. That's not duress. If I didn't sign it, then, he was going to send an email out to the entire industry telling them how terrible I am. That might be duress. Duress would also be, if I didn't sign it, I wouldn't be allowed to leave the room. If I didn't sign it, he was going to shoot me. So that's all duress. But the duress was, if I don't sign it, I lose my job. It's a job. That's not seen as duress.
Ask all of you. Let me ask all of you this. Hold on. Let me ask all of you this one question, please. Let me ask everyone this one question. Okay, we've got more cases like this coming out of Tyler Perry Studios. This is not the first. Okay, this right now If we add them up, will be the fourth. Okay, one we're not sure, but Christian Keys used to work there, made some horrible allegations a year ago, right? He also has recently gone back to the internet and said that he's taken the show that those horrible allegations that he alluded to a whole different network now because he's being excluded. Could all those other cases serve as evidence that this young man is on to something in the court of law? Or is that only in the court of public opinion?
Public opinion.
Because
No, well,
we got Christian Keys, allegedly, possibly. We got the guy that's directly attacking Tyler Perry. We have this other actor who's currently up right now. Are we seeing any patterns here that could be used as look back for what this young man is asserting?
Look,
So
I
the way
would.
that they allege these, they're very discreet individual encounters. So, like, there's some sexual harassment cases where they're trying to show that the environment as a whole was so fueled with this pervasive and
Sexual
severe
undercurrent.
behavior that it was impossible to avoid, and we all experienced it. So everybody who was in the car with Megan Thee Stallion when that was happening, that would be an atmosphere thing. But the cases that I've heard so far asserted against Tyler Perry and his network are, I was at a house by myself and someone got in bed with me. I woke up and had these consequences. They're not indicating yet the kind of
Well, all of them, no, that's not true. All of them are saying they all have a common thread that they've been poisoned or
well, right.
they what not poisoned, what's it?
Intoxicated or drugged. Intoxicated
They
or
all
drugged.
have felt like that they have been drugged. They all felt like that they had been, their ability to say no was taken away from them. I do find it funny that they both end up in a bed. Oh,
So
Well, I mean, they
there's
that's
can
funny.
something.
call them as witnesses to try to support what you're indicating. What I'm saying though is that they're like, if
Like he
you
has
look to,
text messages. He got
There's
text
something
messages.
called
He got
there's something
payments. He
called
got paid
judicial.
$6,000 that night
There's
after they
something
paid
called
him.
judicial notice, right? Anytime a
Okay.
case is filed, at least here in Florida, you can file what's called judicial notice. And judicial notice is usually taken when it is a pending lawsuit, a statute, something that is known, a code, an ordinance. So you could very easily file a judicial notice in your case saying, look at these 4 other cases with
Ah,
Tyler Perry. Look at
got
it. Now,
got
the
that.
judge is probably going to look at it because he or she wants to. How much weight it plays, the judge might say, that's California, we're in Georgia. That's New York, we're in Georgia. But in the back of the judge's mind, he or she could be saying, this is number 4. I'll bet you 5, 6, and 7 are coming down the line. You never know.
Okay, so let me ask this last question, and I'm being messy, sorry. And I'm going to take this to Attorney Carter. When we heard about all these allegations in the entertainment, whether it was music or acting, and it was against women. It was a what the hell? These people are nasty. We've got to get to the bottom of it. You can't do this to women and women rights. However, these last two cases that we've covered in the last 2 weeks surrounding men being abused the same way the women are, where is the exact same outrage?
I tell you why there's a different level of outrage. Okay. And maybe it's wrong. All right. Maybe it's just wrong. But one, if you're talking about physically overpowering you, all right, and you're a man and a man, it's a different power differential. So the idea is that a man has a better fighting chance. All right. Now, if you've been drugged, that's another thing. Okay. And then we're also not talking about the most reliable witnesses. So, for instance, I don't want to say anything about this witness. I've been directed not to this possible victim. But this possible victim is someone who, for the last 30 years, has been running around saying he's got PTSD for the 2 years he
No,
served
it's
in
not
the
that old.
military.
It's not that old.
I'm sorry, he's been running around since he got out of the military. But anyway, he was only there 2 years and did not serve in combat for all I know. All right.
No,
So
he served in combat. He
okay.
served
All
in
right. Fair
combat.
enough.
But
Fair
you're
enough.
right. He wasn't there long.
He
We
wasn't
do
there
have.
long, and part of that whole bringing it up was like, what does that have to do with anything? And it
But see,
seems to
my
be kind of a
question is
sympathy
here.
ploy.
My question here is they didn't have any emotional or their ability to understand or have a perception of something. What there was no problem when they got hired,
Right.
right? But now that they are claiming an assault, they all of a sudden have a problem with their memory. I'm not saying that's him, but I'm just saying us as outsiders looking in. So I just want to make sure that we keep the same energy, especially here, because actually you keep the energy you want, right? This is court of public opinion. So
Right.
if the public says that we still are in a space where we don't believe men but believe women, or we have a different standard for men than we do for women, jump down in this chat. All right, let's move on along. Everybody, thank you for keeping up with us. Be sure to hit that like button because the likes aren't liking. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you already subscribed, hit that share button. Continue to jump down in the comments, and as always, turn on your notifications. Up next, that was some good talk right there. Now, let's pivot courtside, and I do mean literally courtside. Miami Heat's championship coach, Erik, I don't know how to say his last name, finalized his
Spoelstra.
divorce. How do you say it?
Spoelstra.
Spoelstra finalized his divorce just weeks before signing a jaw-dropping 120 million contract extension. Yes, you heard me correctly. He finalized his divorce just weeks before signing a jaw-dropping 120 million contract extension. Now, fans and pundits whispered that the timing wasn't just convenient, but instead it was strategic. Was the payday delayed to avoid a bigger divorce settlement? Or is this just conspiracy talk? Either way, my legal beagles are going to break this down. This story raises big questions about wealth protection, transparency, and how high profile couples split fortunes when big deals are brewing. So, because this happened in Florida, I want to go to you, Attorney Weiss, is delaying, because this clearly looks like what it is to me. The divorce went through for the Alvarez. The divorce went through settlement, went through while he was in negotiation with his new contract. All right. 2 months before they settled his negotiation, allegedly, his divorce was final. So, Jason, is delaying or hiding income during divorce proceeding fraud under Florida law?
He didn't delay and he didn't hide. So what happened was there was a joint statement, amicable split, divorce finalized November of 2023. He got this contract extension from the Heat in January 2024.
Yeah, but the details show that the negotiations started in the summer before the November divorce.
And that's okay. That's good lawyering on his side, and that's
Y'all
not
are
so
some
good
shady
lawyering
ass lawyers
on her
tonight. I
side.
swear to
Now,
God.
however, there were things having to do with
Do
him
you,
taking care of.
if you, Attorney Weiss, if you're going to sit here in my courtroom and make me believe that this man know that he had $120 million in his pocket because he had been negotiating it, but he was telling that team, listen, I'm going through a divorce. I got to hold out this contract until after I settle my divorce. If you're trying to convince me that that was not a part of his strategy, I'm going to just quit this
I I
right now.
agree it was part of the strategy. We hear it all the time,
But
right? Someone
can
leaves.
she go back? Can she go back now, or is it too late? Because
She
I'll be
has not
pissed as
gone.
hell. I'll be pissed as hell if my husband played me for all the years that I was with him, and he held out his best contract he's ever had with the team to make sure that I wouldn't have to get any of it, even though I was there when he got the job and stayed with him throughout all that. How many days are they on the road? 153 games or some shit? No,
She
sir. No,
look.
sir. No, no,
She
no,
Everybody,
had
no,
over
no.
everybody,
30 minutes or
they
6 hours during that time.
they they look. What we don't know is this. We
I
don't
know that he
know.
was smart.
But we don't know what that settlement divorce agreement said. It could have said when he reaches certain thresholds, she gets more money. It could have said that if he does something, the kids get more money. So we don't know what it says. So, yes, to the public, it looks like he outmaneuvered her, he outsmarted her, he had the team helping him,
He
he
sure
did
did.
all of that. But think about this. People have NDAs all the time, right? You're not allowed to go work for a competitor or do whatever for a year. So what do? They have their wife open up the company and they do consulting, or they go sell used cars for a year while they're doing everything in the background preparing for it. Spoelstra did it. Look, he was smart. He got away with it. He didn't break any laws. He didn't do any fraud. He didn't have the contract signed, because we all know in sports, he could have had this whole thing laid out and the Heat could have had a terrible season. He could have gotten into a fight with LeBron or D Wade or
I
whoever,
totally get that.
and they could have pulled the contract from him.
I
And
get that.
then
No. You're totally right. You're totally right. I get it. But
Yeah.
let me tell you,
if it was signed and hidden and backdated, I got a problem.
Christine R told me to stop yelling at Jason.
The thing is, though,
All right,
is
let's
that
go. Wait a minute.
Weiss
Hold on.
made a good point when
Attorney
he-
Turner. Hold on, Attorney Turner. Hold on, please. Let's go to. I want to go to Carter real quick. How do courts handle post-divorce windfalls that weren't disclosed? That's my question.
And Attorney Weiss probably explained it better. I'll just simply say this way, because I took a look at this. Basically, they're going to do one or two things. One, if it's something that you think you trick somebody into, okay, like this thing, they can go back and say, hey, you tricked them into it. Now, usually that's the case where the other person doesn't have a $4,000 an hour lawyer who should have figured this out. All right.
Right.
Also, the weird thing is, but let's be clear. Let's be absolutely clear. I looked at his other two previous contract extensions. They're both signed in September during the offseason before the season started. So the
Right,
fact
that's
that
how-
they
that's how
waited
it's
till
supposed to be
January,
done.
absolute ploy. What they can do is say, okay, I had a good lawyer. I probably can't claim I was tricked and whatever, but you could, depending upon the formulas or whatever, get more money for alimony or child support.
Child
Because
support,
that but there's probably something in the contract that says, hey, now here's the thing is, it was no secret who he was and what coaches' salaries were. So hopefully
Right.
his new lawyers knew, and he ended up having to pay more up front. The thing that to me is bothersome is that the Miami Heat went along with this. Right? I'm not getting it. I negotiate contracts in September. His previous two contracts were actually extended on September 29th of 2013 and 2019. I'm not going to change my whole practices because you can't keep this woman happy in bed. I'm going to give you your contract on September 29th, and then you do whatever you do with
Whatever
it.
you want to do, but he probably put it off. Okay, Attorney Turner, because you are our divorcee panelist here, could Nikki, his wife, challenge a divorce settlement if she proves the contract was intentionally hidden?
people can sue for a whole lot of things. Here's where I think that she's probably out of luck, and it goes to what Attorney Weiss said at the
No
beginning.
way.
And if you had allowed me to say it initially, we could have moved past this point. But anyway, what Attorney Weiss indicated is that they were both, and Carter mentioned it too, they're both represented by competent counsel. The element of surprise here is really absent. He was a basketball coach. He remains a basketball coach. He had a contract. He got a contract, right? So the real thing is that in discovery, what did her lawyers ask? Because to me, this was knowable information. And so
All right. If Carter could have figured that out, seems like if he figured that out in 30 minutes, it seems like her paying $4,000 with one of the best divorce attorneys in the freaking country. They would have said, okay, your husband usually gets signs of re-up in September. What's going on? We need to put a provision in here that if he gets more money, or if more money comes in, we need to revisit this. I don't understand.
They would have asked for the prior contracts and would have seen the terms, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so then if he didn't have a contract before they settled and they knew that it was going to expire, then they could have had the opportunity to delay the settlement until the contract was renegotiated, or perhaps she got more money in anticipation, like, hey, we'll give you this that you're not entitled to because we think that we're coming into some money. And so we want to remove the aspect that you're going to argue that somehow you were taken advantage of because I want to get divorced. I want to move on to Chicky Chick over here. And I don't want you to be in my way.
He's
So
a
that's
Let's
soul.
the
be
part
clear.
that,
He's a
Let's be clear
soul
for the
says
algorithm.
everyone is on something tonight.
Well, we are, but let's be clear with the algorithms because some of you are going to be confused here, and you're going to think, "Hey, I won the lottery. I'm going to keep this ticket aside. I'm going to get divorced, and then I'm going to get no. You're going to get caught. You're going to get the money back." They had a case, in fact, where the wife did that and had to give all the money to the husband, not half, all. This is a situation where he already, like I said, was a coach. He knew he had some money. He was going to get some more money. But if there's unexplained money or you can't do that. All right, like I said, if it's a lottery or windfall, your mom about to die next week and leave you the house. That's different, right?
Exactly.
yeah, or he had a side hustle because everybody saw Waiting to Exhale, right? So in
Right.
Waiting to Exhale, he hid all of his assets, and then it got found out, and she got all this money because he had been engaged in impropriety. So you have to be straightforward. You got to be straight up. There have to be no like unknown information. And in this case, I think she's going to be hard pressed to say she was taken advantage of because she got these lawyers. If her lawyers messed up, she might be able to go after them for malpractice.
All right.
But remember, Florida has a very strict statutory code that they follow. And if his income went up substantially and he did not basically pay her up front or do something, she can go in for a modification unless he waived that right as part of it. But the only way to waive that right as part of it would have been that he gave her more money than she was entitled to begin with.
I promise you, I would shoot my lawyers if I waived my right. If I signed something to waive my right, and I knew that the contract was coming, and I knew that this contract was coming up.
No, but here's the thing.
Your Honor would not shoot anybody.
Oh,
He never
no, but he may have said. But she may have said, "I know you're getting a new contract."
I would hurt my lawyer, though. I would hurt my lawyer because it's these contracts. You knew what year it was every year. I would be very upset. Really quickly, you never know who's watching Celebrity Court of Public Opinion. Chris Giovanni has entered the chat. Chris Giovanni was the manager of the young man from the Tyler Perry studio that we talked about. What's his name? Braxton Wells. Is that his name, everybody? Let me look. Jesus Christ. Yes, Braxton Wells. So Chris Giovanni, who was accused by Braxton Wells in the video, he said he would just like to say that he did not know him at the time of the alleged event and didn't even know he settled. He wishes him the best in his journey and finding healing. I just wanted to add that. You never know who is watching Celebrity Court. Wow. Isn't that interesting? Okay.
I know who better not be watching my wife, but go ahead.
Yo, all right, let's keep it moving. Hold on, everybody, because we are running way, way behind. Let's get through these next two cases. All right, next on the docket, local politics meets viral chaos. Detroit Mayor hopeful Jonathan Barlow was caught on TikTok in a late night clash with a group of women. One woman claims Barlow slapped her phone, cutting her lip. Barlow says he's the victim, that they grabbed his phone first. The footage divided the internet. Was he defending himself or disqualifying himself from office? In an age where every confrontation is one viral clip away from career death, the court of public opinion right here might just outvote the polls. All right, bailiff, please take it away.
Right He's suppressing us! He's suppressing us! He's suppressing us! I'm gonna call the police, I ain't gonna lie. I'm about to.
As I got out to campaign and just give him a quick flyer, the young lady asked me to take a video of her. I'm in campaign mode anyway. I say, cool. Start taking a video. Another two girls walk up. One of the girls says she doesn't want to talk to you and leave us alone. Well, the girl just asked me to do something, and now you're telling me something different. And so to diffuse the situation, I did stay there. Now, what I didn't know was that she was a TikTok superstar and was able to amplify the situation by buying fake accounts to attack and to slander my name and to boost this narrative of assaulting and harassing her.
Can you explain kind of the facial expressions that were made, and why does it appear that the woman's phone was hidden out of her hand?
So let's deal with both. First of all, the women's phone was not hit out of her hand. Her friend who grabbed my phone was still very active in the situation. So in the process of me trying to understand what is going on, she's actually pushing her camera towards me. Her girl is coming from the left side and bumps into her at the same time, bumps into me. That's why we both go off camera, and she catches her phone.
This is very alarming to me, and let me tell you why. Because we talked about this in the chambers. For some reason, I believe him. I honestly believe what he's saying to me because of how they were behaving from the video. So I really don't buy this. He snatched the phone out of their hand. Why would he? What motive does he have to snatch the phone out of their hand when he just took their phone to video record for them because she wanted to put it on TikTok? That's question number one. But I do want to ask you this, Attorney Carter. Does the video evidence support or contradict the candidate's claim of self-defense?
And that's tough because you never have the good view. I can tell you what happened here because I've been out in the streets. I've been to Detroit, and this is what happened. It always happens. All right. He's talking to the first TikToker, who's an attractive young woman. She's probably giving him a little vibe, but then the ugly friend comes. You know when the ugly friend comes by, it's always going to be a problem. You saw her up there yelling with a tube top on, with more top than tube, talking about he harassing us. He ain't harassing your ugly butt. He's harassing her ugly butt. Her cute self, but you mad because you ain't got nobody. That's just what I think can happen.
More tube than top, Attorney Carter.
But here's what I don't understand. In order to diffuse the situation, he continued. How does that diffuse the situation?
Because you can't.
He could have said, "Hey, I got my ball. I'm going
that's
home."
Not you. That's the white boy logic on the You can't diffuse those women, those black women like that, and that's it. You just can't. I'm sorry, Attorney Weiss. You're wrong on that one.
No, I'm with Attorney Weiss.
He couldn't have diffused that because he's campaigning. He said he's giving them a flyer. He's engaging them. He probably saw one or two that he thought was attractive, like Attorney Carter said. And he's like, she's playing. He's like trying to get the vote. And then, like Attorney Carter said, the one that wasn't so attractive is like, hold on, you showing too much attention to the girlfriend that always gets all the attention. And just all this mess happens. But let's go back to legally. Attorney Turner. Attorney Turner. Attorney Turner. Attorney Turner.
Weiss made a good point from the legal perspective, and this is where I think that he's going to get into some trouble. Is look at you going through the change, Your Honor.
No, it's this red wine and this hot ass robe under these lights. That's what.
But to Attorney Weiss's point, when he says I remained because I was trying to diffuse, that part makes no sense to me. Because you're right, you get a bunch of angry black women or any kind of ethnicity probably, and we're worked up. You remaining is just like throwing fuel on the fire. And so I don't understand why he didn't hightail it out of there. The only reason you're inclined to believe him is because he's light-skinned and he looks like he could be your cousin. And I'm telling you, this story does not make any sense.
Talk to the judge like this. What is going on with you guys tonight? I have done all of y'all.
I have told y'all a million times, those women are too young. None of them even know what a slip is. If they didn't know what a slip was, they know how to act like.
None of them know what voting is. So that's a whole nother conversation. If you want my honest opinion, the way they behave. Okay, so let me ask you this. Could the alleged victim sue Barlow civilly for battery and defamation?
Sure, anybody could sue for anything. Will they win? I don't think so.
Right. Right.
But, but
what I
he
do.
will lose. He will lose in the court of public opinion, and his candidacy will take a nosedive because of it.
Exactly. So that's what we were talking about in Chambers, and I want to hear what the algorithms have to say. The thing that I was talking about in Chambers is this whole social media phenomena, even if it's a misunderstanding, right? Even if it's a misunderstanding, to watch somebody who's been so active in Detroit's community, possible career go down the drain because of a TikTok viral moment, that's disgusting to me. If a man has spent 20 years of public service and has this run in on TikTok where he's like engaging, takes one person's phone, another person's phone, and something happens, shouldn't there be space for him to make that mistake and not his 20 years of public service going down the drain?
You new to the
I
internet,
agree.
huh, Your
The
Honor?
problem
You know we don't get
is,
nobody
No,
no
I'm not.
grace.
I'm not. I just find that so sad because it's not like he did anything. Like, even if he accidentally bumped against a girl and knocked the phone out of her hand,
Mm.
why should his 20 years of public service for one of the most depressed cities that affects African Americans, and he's the only voice for the African American space in education and fair housing and all of that, why should that just all be thrown down the drain because of some TikTok sensation?
I mean, he might be all of those things. He might be the second coming, but what he isn't is someone who's been schooled by somebody in crisis management. So his first mistake was telling this story that makes no sense repeatedly in response. He should have gone on and said, "I'm sorry." Right? "I'm sorry.
What
I ran into
misunderstanding?
Right. I ran into these potential voters. Clearly, there was a misunderstanding. I didn't mean to ruin her birthday. If she wants a bottle on me next time she goes to the club, vote for me. Right. But instead, right. And then he could have glossed over the fact that he was trying to pick up somebody, because I think that Attorney Carter's
That's
right.
probably that's probably the part that
Story
resonates.
doesn't make any sense. I just had some flyers, and all of a sudden these girls started to come for me. Nobody who's out partying is looking for that dude and saying that's the person that I want to go after and have a
You
good
know what's the
time with.
time.
Right?
Attorney Turner, Attorney Turner, Attorney Turner, and you're drinking water. No, no order in the court. What is going on here tonight? You know what? I'm
I'm
done.
just keeping
All right,
it real.
let's
He
keep
was
it
pushing
going.
up on somebody and it didn't go well. And
And
this
you
is
think
what
that you think
happened.
he was pushing up on somebody that backfired. All right, talking about pushing up. Finally, the Harris household is back in the hot seat. Yep, you heard it right. Tina and Tiny Harris are back in the hot seat because Sabrina Peterson, who's been ringing the alarm on Ti and Tiny for years, says she has new receipts proving the couple and their son ran a trafficking ring, forced drug use, and silenced victims for decades. These allegations echo claims from over 15 women that fizzled out legally years ago. So, is this a smear campaign or has the statute of limitations protected predators? When does public opinion carry more weight than a DA's decision not to prosecute? Let's still go to you, Attorney Carter, because I know you're going to tell us something good. What fresh evidence, okay? What fresh evidence or what are these new receipts? What do these new receipts have to show in order to revive the criminal or the civil case despite past dismissals?
And I don't know if we're getting close to the limitation, but Georgia, I think if they're in Georgia, has what, a 15-year look back. If they're in other states, some states like California say, hey, you can go back to the pyramids if you want to. So it's possible if there's some real evidence. I don't know how this woman, though, has all the tea, and we got no victims who have the tea. And this is why I think it's weird about this case, is that it's one thing for the victims to come forward, all right, and say that's, but for someone else to be like, hey, I wasn't involved with this, but this is what happened to this person and that person. That's not how we do law in this country. All right. If you have something happen to you, you go to court and you say what happened to you, not for somebody to be like, I heard from somebody's cousin, best friend, baby mama.
Well, there were actually 15. There were victims. There were other women.
But they're adults now.
Yeah, but I think some settled, some
maybe.
didn't.
And then that's their story to tell. And I
Right.
think, and the problem she's having is then this one thing is this. And the weird thing is this, they didn't sue her for defamation, which I would have done. All right, I'm suing 3 or 4 people in the comments. All right, people who said I couldn't satisfy my wife, I'm getting you. All right, you getting sued on Monday. All right. But the thing is this though, right? They didn't sue. They said she a liar and she crazy. Then she sued them for defamation and said, "How dare you?" All right, Ted said, "I'm liar and crazy."
So
After
you think she's mad because Tiny and Ti kicked her out the bed?
exactly, and then she lost her case, and so now she's trying to come back again. I don't know what her strategy is here because guess what? If I'm them, I'm suing again. All right, you done brought up new stuff, and until she gets another witness to confirm her story, it's not going to be good for her.
All right, Attorney Weiss, let me ask you this: should social media receipts be admissible or even trusted as evidence in the court of law?
So they can be admissible, but you need to go through a chain of custody. You need to make sure they're legit. You'd have to have some sort of forensic expert come in and do that. So yeah, it's just a hey, look, this was on Instagram or TikTok. No, but if they can dig deeper and it's there, look. When I was teaching law school, I told kids all the time. Employers are going to check out your social media. They're going to check out Facebook. They're going to check out everything that you do. Oh, it's private. They won't find it. BS. So the point behind it is, yes, anything on social media, if it's confirmed and if it's legitimized, it can be used.
Okay, Attorney Carter, let's dig deeper there, please. And Attorney Turner, you can jump in here too. I understand that text messages and emails can be used in the court of law.
Can, yes.
And can DMs and tweets be used in the court of law?
Yes and no. All right, because I know Attorney Turner is going to say yeah, because I know she used some DMs when I tell her. I get that. All right, that's what my wife does too. But here's the thing: is that but it has to be obtained legally. So, for instance, if you break into your spouse's Facebook page, and then you go ahead and pull out all their DMs or whatever, you might not be able to admit them in the court. All right. So, they do have to be admitted lawfully. But if you go to Facebook and say, hey, we have a subpoena to get these records, etc. Once those things are brought and it's authenticated because Facebook will tell you who actually sent it, then certainly, all right, you can admit that in the court of law. Am I right about that, Attorney Turner?
Absolutely. And the other thing that Your Honor did not ask about, but it's relevant to this line of discussion, has to do with recordings, because everybody has all these people going on TV and saying, got so-and-so, got Delta Airlines or whatever. However, you have to know that the recording law is state specific, and it's based on the wiretapping law in that jurisdiction. And in some states, you need everybody's consent before you can record. So you may have let's just say allegedly, your spouse might be having an affair, and you might set up a sting operation and record them talking.
Wait a minute! Did you do this, Attorney Turner?
Anyway.
No, but actually I didn't. It's just a good example. It's one that comes off the top of my head.
Attorney Turner, let me find out you a gangster.
Oh, honey, don't let the voice fool you. But yeah, you could set up a sting operation in Pennsylvania, right? Because your spouse is cheating on you. You put a video recording that does video and audio, and you want to catch them in the act, right? And you're all proud about it, and you're like, I'm going to take this to court because that's going to prove, and then I won't have to pay them any alimony because they haven't really contributed to this household the whole time we were together, right? Then you go to your lawyer and they tell you, hey, Mrs. Smith, you have committed a felony and we cannot use this. And you're like, what? I committed a felony? Can you believe this so-and-so did this? And they're like, in Pennsylvania, you need the consent of all parties before you make an audio recording. And so not only can we not use this in court, I recommend you destroy it because it's evidence of a crime. Yeah. So no, I didn't do that because I'm smarter than that. I don't break crime. I get money. And so, yes, I didn't do that. But algoritmers need to know because people are confused about it. Now, in North Carolina, Where I used to live, that's a single party consent state. So I also couldn't set up a sting operation for him and his paramour, but I could have had a recording device in my pocket trying to get him to admit to something. And because I'm in the conversation, I could use it. But in Pennsylvania, if I did the same thing, that would also be a felony. It's called
I
surreptitious
have a
recording.
question. Oh, hold on,
And-
hold it, thought. Wait, Weiss, hold on. I got because you know I'm old. I will forget. That's why I tell y'all to hold on because I'll forget the train of thought. I have a question. So let me make sure I understand this. All right. Okay. So a person, I was a part of a situation. Algorithm, y'all can read between the lines. I was recorded. I was at work. First of all, one thing, it was work collateral at work. And you know, at work, you're not allowed to use our Zoom work stuff, right? At work, someone uses a cell phone and records us on a Zoom meeting. All right. They live in a different state than I live in. The person that they recorded was me. During the recording, I live in the state of California. State of California is a 2-person consent state. The state that they live in is a 1 consenting state. So if it was happening in their state, they could use their cell phone and record it and use it, right? So can they legally record me if I'm in the state of California, they're in a different state?
The more stringent state is going to control. So if I'm in Florida and it's dual state and Shaitan is in North Carolina and it's one way, my state laws are going to trump.
And California has the strictest when it comes to recording.
So California law, which is where you were, that's going to control. And this is a very hot topic in the telephone.
So is that a felony for that person who did that and then exposed it?
It is in Pennsylvania.
Right. I don't know what the ramifications are. It is not allowed. Some states it could be a misdemeanor, some it's a felony.
However, one thing I would add to Attorney Weiss's answer is it has to be surreptitious recording, which means it's unknown. So if in this conversation I have my phone
it was surreptitious because no one knew that they were recording. No one knew that they were recording.
Yeah.
Well,
so that
would you presume that a Zoom call is recorded?
Well, you have
to click. You have to click if it's being recorded. There's something that comes up.
When a Zoom call, they use their personal phone to record because they knew that they weren't supposed to be recording a Zoom call because it's property of our employer. Oh, this is juicy. All right,
piece. What it does then is it triggers the surreptitious recording law. It implicates which law controls. So you need to figure out what jurisdiction are they going to use that in, and then have a choice of law provision and iron out which one. I think Attorney Weiss is right that you would have the expectation of privacy in the jurisdiction where you were communicating.
Of course. Oh, yeah. Everybody on that call.
But you would need to make sure you file first in California as opposed to the other person filming, let's say.
Trust me.
Yeah. Oh, you'd have to first.
Trust me, sir. Trust me, sir.
Oh, I do. I was putting it out there for the algoriters, not you, Your Honor.
All right, Christine R says, Jason, don't check your DMs. I don't want no legal smoke. You should be concerned less about the legal smoke, and the smoke come from that lady called Tova. Because Tova ain't no joke.
Oh, no.
And she got 2 grown athletes in her house, so she knows how to tackle. All right, everybody, as we slam the gavel on tonight's session of Celebrity Court of Public Opinion, let's remember that truth is a moving target in the world of fame and money. With Megan Thee Stallion, I can't help but think if these claims hold up, she's facing more than just a payout. She's facing a reckoning on what it means to be a boss in an industry that loves to protect talent at the expense of workers. Tyler Perry's allegations, to me, stings the most. If true, they cut at the heart of every uplifting narrative that he has built. The irony of the king of empowerment, the largest employer of African American actors and actresses in the country or even the world, being accused of exploitation is too big to ignore. But let's not forget, allegations are not convictions. Evidence must speak louder than headlines. And as for Erik, the head coach of the Miami Heat, look, divorce is ugly, but the strategic timing of that $120 million contract, is it genius or is it grimy? Algorators, you be the judge. Jonathan Barlow's viral slap heard round Detroit is a reminder that one bad night can kill a campaign, then a smear ad. And Tiny and T.I., if the new receipts are real, there's no comeback to it big enough to drown out a trafficking scandal. But we've seen powerful people like Diddy survive worse. So, what's my final verdict? Keep your eyes open, your mind skeptical, and your moral compass steady. This is Celebrity Court of Public Opinion, where fame stands trial and you are the jury. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share because the truth needs an audience. Until next time, court is adjourned.